Ça va? So, I feel like I need to explain myself. Or not so much myself, but to explain and elaborate more when I discuss topics and ideas to things that I have viewpoints on, and that I think others probably don't spend enough time thinking about, or never really spend any time at all considering. Because, you know, when you're a person on the internet that consumes content, you don't really think about, say, the media tactic and strategy behind them, or wouldn't understand shitposting jokes that would be made about things and reasons and stuff. And I didn't see a lot of reaction when I talked about this last on my other video on the streaming arm wars, or the streaming arms race to be exact. To understand some of these things, it's concepts that you have to really talk about, and I want to talk about them because elaboration is what he originally asked for. But hey, guess what? You're probably gonna get more videos at me like this. Who knows? We'll see. But to understand the first part of the streaming arms race, you first need to understand how the media conceptualizes and recognizes the business strategies of how they make content possible. You've paid attention probably to all the streaming sites and services that have been going up and becoming part of the process over time, and this is part of that. Understand it, you need to really view the problems about it differently than most people would, because piracy is only a part of it. Piracy is not the cause of the problem. It is actually one of the many cures, panaceas, and symptoms of the problem. And that problem is what I learned is called the Evergreen problem. And it looks something like this. Right there. The Evergreen problem is what happens when you think of content not in the viewpoint of like, oh, that's a show or a franchise that I really, really like. I want to see more of that, please. So, let's say you're somebody who's getting into something for the first time, right? You're getting into one of the many gaming franchises that are represented in Smash. Or you discover Devil May Cry for the first time, and you hear people tell you why D_MC is bad. Or you're getting into something that you never knew existed whatsoever. You know, you're looking at foreign media, you're looking at new media, and you're looking at legacy media, and how legacy media really, really doesn't like new media. And I should put that on here too. Add that. Legacy and new media. There you go. So, the Evergreen problem. The Evergreen problem is a result that is caused by consumerism. Not specifically consumerism, but consumerism. We live in a digital age, and as technology moves forward and marches ever onwards to the future, we look to the past to solve problems when it comes to, licensing and distribution. For example, when we made content and we wanted to make it distributable, enjoyable for the whole family, when it came to something like a classic such as Scarface, or another classic such as The Man in the Iron Mask, or if you're an anime fan, when we wanted to watch a course, this is upside down, when we wanted to watch a course like a series such as Witchblade, or Sailor Moon, or Trigun, or anything from, say, the Sunrise Pictures VHS time period of the early, I want to say 70s, all the way up to the viewing point of the 90s, where DVDs like this became more common, or other wonderful film works. like anniversary collection editions and award season editions of products like Labyrinth or Memoirs of a Geisha. Or something that can only really live in a specific way at any one time. Timeless classics like Home Alone or the Home Alone franchise. Before things started going the way of direct to DVD, direct to video, direct to streaming shit takes, dumping things like the month of January for a film and most, quarter seasons would become. The Evergreen problem is the cycle, the endemic systemic issue of that when it comes to distribution in the media industry, and not just with media like videos, specifically anything anywhere this problem is occurring to, because distribution works like this. Take in mind what happened recently with Netflix and Studio Ghibli, and how the US and Japan are not going to be able to have the films, or all of the many thousands and thousands of times where something has left a website or left a service because the licensing and the IP and the ownership of it now belongs to someone else, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with it, including doing what Disney does, which is to acquire their enemies and change them into just another piece of their soulless empire, or, more commonly, to lock something up behind the Disney Vault, only to put it onto a service like Disney Plus and destroy it. Destroying jokes in The Simpsons, fucking up the crop of the product, fucking up the pictures of it, destroying the countless preservations that had been done to present the product as it had been made at the original time, and preserve them as such. This is the Evergreen problem in effect. One of the better cases right now that exists. Look at what's happening right now with Warcraft 3 Reforged and its original cut. All the fucking changes that have been made. All the stupid ass things that have been done. Things that didn't need to be changed, like the original settings of the customization or anything else that goes with them. That too is part of the Evergreen problem, because that's how media production is done nowadays. Rather than preserve what existed before and allow for the new to exist on its own merits, recreations of things, much like how Dark Souls Remastered destroyed the community of Dark Souls 1 and its preservation, and attempted to sell off a shit remaster port as a definitive edition, much like that. Or how when pirates find themselves without anything to do as recourse to being treated like dog shit by companies, if only to take the thing and just, straight line through what they gotta do. Much like with any IP in question, especially streaming services as a whole. The Evergreen issue is a net resolve of what happens when you get abused for the content that's made. Because companies need to find a place to put that content. They need to find not just the audience, they need to find the potential of how they will exploit that audience. You can't really blame them. They're just doing the business. Because we find ourselves in a situation where we are faced on all sides by many kinds of hegemons, monopolies, and plutocracies. But what we don't realize is that we're actually in a situation where it's a bit more like a monopsony when it gets right down to it. You don't, rather than a case of many sellers and many buyers, you find yourself in a situation where you realize it's more like you have many sellers and only one buyer, because you, consumer, are the buyer. Now, the way the company sees it, and the way that you should see it, is you should understand that all of these companies are trying to get you to give them all money. And you don't have infinite amounts of money. which is what usually leads people to piracy. Why would I pay someone for an inferior product and an inferior service when I can simply do the policing of that myself? Why would I, as an anime watcher, pay Crunchyroll money when I know that not only are they lying to me, but they are also stealing that money to fund it into other projects? Now you could try to make the argument and say, but they are trying to pay people, they're doing as much as they can, they're trying to support the industry, and you're not. That's not how that works. Because if they cared about supporting the industry, they would support their fucking entertainers, and they would support their goddamn workers by paying them the wage they deserve. More importantly, they wouldn't waste money to fund it into projects like Elation Studios, or into updating the physical location of their boardrooms and of their offices in the most expensive place where it is to live, like California. Use your common sense. But to understand how to begin to tackle this problem, you gotta know that. Now, what is the solution? The solution is exactly what it said. Do anything but support bad behavior and bad tactics and bad services and bad products. Because the Evergreen issue can only be solved by you creating a place to make Evergreen content. The content has to be Evergreen. You have to be able to get it any time and anywhere, any way, and in the original format in which it was released. That's really what it is. If I don't want to pay for your additional add-ons and your changes and your fixes and shit, I won't accept it. So rather than just support bad behavior, I would rather tell you to go fuck yourself. Really what it is. It's what you have to do. You have to take it upon yourself to recognize when you're being fucking lied to, and when you're being offered a shit product. It is your job upon yourself to police your own content, because sadly, we do not have people like Total Biscuit here to help us with that anymore. We have fewer people who are willing to take up that role. And me, I am one of the few people who can possibly fill in that role, but I cannot fill his shoes, nor do I want to. I can only do it for myself, and it is in my interest that I arm you with that knowledge. This is how they do it, and this is why you should do everything you can to recognize when you simply do not want to participate. You still have your clamshells, you still have your DVDs and your VHSs. You can buy a VHS player. You can have that feature product. You could probably even be able to find an HD rip of it from a DVD source that someone uploaded that exists somewhere on the internet. Because the internet, for better or worse, is the most evergreen place possible. You can't get more evergreen than a dedicated seeder and torrenter who's willing to keep doing that product search for you. Now, there are reservations and there are establishments and initiatives made for not just reservation and preservation of media, but also the production of making better ways of getting this to happen and making this possible. But until you really understand how that goes down, there's not really much you can really do about it. This is just one step forward. Next time when we talk about it, I'll talk about the next step. And I'll actually demonstrate what you can do about it. But if I have taught you nothing here, other than my ramblings about a concept that I learned in college, I will leave you with this. Ask yourself how many times you have watched people rant and rave about having power over exclusives. Content exclusives. Console exclusives for video games, or exclusives to a service like, well, Crunchyroll, or Netflix, or Hulu, or Amazon Prime. Consider how many times people have been proud to say, yes! Yeah, buddy Disney, please, give me that shit! How many times people have been happy to get the fucking gray paste? Those people are the ones who you need to know this for the most. Because if you don't save them, they will never save themselves. It's a problem that you also have to save yourself from, by inoculating yourself against it by learning. Because, that is the reason it goes on. It's how this happens. Now, if you want to know how consumerism happened, consumerism happened when people stopped having standards. This is part of having those standards. You need to reclaim them again. Because If you don't, you're gonna have people shit up things that you used to have that were once good that will now be bad. Because they'll recreate it. They'll reboot it. They'll fuck with it more and more until there's nothing left. And I feel about this the same way Rich Evans felt about exclusives. I want everyone to have the content. It's not a matter of, oh, well, I don't feel like I should pay. Bitch, I pay more than others do. And it's not on the basis of thinking that I'm above paying for what I want. It's a matter of principle. I'm not willing to be cheated and lied to. Because why would I? Why would I accept someone treating me like a non-human? That's what it comes down to, specifically for me. Because all of this is a product of how companies and businesses choose to treat us as individuals. We only get treated the way that we allow them to treat us. And that's kind of what this is connected to. Because, much like with console exclusives or PC exclusives or whatever the fuck, I want everybody to have the content. The only way they can have that content is that someone's willing to sell it to them for a fair price. Something that they feel is not only fair, but is also of value to them. Nobody wants to take it away from you. I don't want to take it away from you, and I certainly don't want to take the money from the companies away from them either. In fact, I am the first one to tell companies that, hey, you give me the product that I want, here, take my word of mouth, take my money, it's right here, it's in my hand, take it from me, I want you to have it, take it, just fucking take it, but they can't take it from me, because they don't want it. Some people would rather support some wokesters at pickups now. Some people would rather prefer to support wokester hipster companies that would denounce the problematic parts of something, while telling themselves, oh, we're the good ones. Or saying that they are righteous in their nonsense because they recognize that they're profiteering off of what they consider to be haram or disgusting or evil. The only way to really deal with that is to recognize when they are doing that to you. When you see somebody tell you that you can go fuck yourself because you don't want to support laziness, you just take your money back and stick it back in your pocket and keep it there. That's how you should treat video games. That's how you should treat movies. That's how you should treat anything, really. Be cynical and skeptical as shit. Put your money in your wallet, in your pocket, until they can prove to you, okay, everyone, we want your money. Take it from us. I want you to take my product. Shit, I'll even be like the Darkwood devs. I'll even be like a dev for Just Shapes and Beats, and I will give you. I'll chide you. I'll say, hey, I'd prefer money, but if you can, spread it around. If they're willing to take your money, and they're willing to give you a great product, you should support them for doing so. Especially if they go out of their way to do so, that you can do it in a way where you're not at the risk of somebody saying, oh, well, you're not following my policies and my rules, so, or someone else is selling me to me for the highest bidder, so I'm just gonna pull that from you. Don't put yourself at an opportunity where they can do that to you. Go the other way. Just walk away from them. Treat the comics like that, treat the games like that, treat the movies like that, treat the companies like that. Do that for yourself as a consumer and you will never go wrong. If you don't, well, gray paste is always there. That's what you're into. I'm not gonna stop you. But I will judge you. And I will shame you. I won't stop you. But I will judge and shame you. Alright, I gotta go drink some water so I can get rid of this hiccup. Goodbye, everybody. Mwah.